Hi everyone, welcome to the Cawemo release webinar. My name is Daya and I'm your moderator for today. Before we begin, I just wanted to go through some housekeeping items with everyone. So first and foremost, this webinar is recorded, so you have a chance to look at it again tomorrow if you want. We'll be sending you an email tomorrow with the link to the recording. And also we host these webinars because we want to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions or give us comments. And you can do that by clicking the question mark symbol on your screen. And with that, you can ask us some questions. And we'll do our best to answer all the questions at the end of the webinar. With that being said, I'm going to pass it on to our Cawemo experts, Roxana Morris and Jacob Freund.
Yes, hello also from my side. My name is Roxana Morris and I'm the product marketing manager of Cawemo. And today I'm joined by Jacob Freund, the CEO and founder of Camunda. So for everyone who's not 100% familiar with Camunda, Jacob, could you give us a brief overview of Camunda and why we started Cawemo?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Roxy and Daya, and hello and welcome everyone. So Camunda, for all of you who are not that familiar with Camunda yet, it's a company based in Berlin, Germany. We are focused on business process management, BPM, and our core product, Camunda BPM, is all about business process automation, in fact. So that's where we come from. We have offices in Berlin and North America. More than 140 customers are using Camunda BPM for automating their core business processes. And we're quite successful with that. So we are growing rapidly, yet organically. Also won 2 times in a row, in fact, the BPM Next Innovation Awards in California for, more or less most innovative feature presentation, and so on and so forth. So that's where we come from. And as I mentioned, Camunda BPM is all about process automation. So what is Cawemo about then? And to kind of kick this off, when we started Cawemo about a year ago, we wondered, how can we involve more people in process improvement? Because at the end of the day, process automation is, of course, only part of process improvement. However, quite often it's an outcome of those ideas. So we have seen many organizations struggling with involving the business stakeholders in process improvement discussions. And this is what we want to change. And I think, Roxy, your own story is actually quite interesting as an example for, how we came about inventing Cawemo.
Yes, definitely. So first of all, again, a little bit about me. I'm Roxana Morris, as I mentioned earlier, I'm the product marketing manager for Cawemo. And what I do as a product marketing manager right now is I communicate Cawemo, and I also communicate it internally, not only externally. So I'm kind of the bridge between our product team and our marketing team. And before I was doing that, I was actually an operations manager. And back then, my responsibilities were defining goals, reporting, and then through having to define goals and reporting, I was kind of trying to obviously also improve things and try and make sure that we fit those goals, that we manage to get where we want to be as a company. And that's where I kind of became in touch for the first time with process management, because it's a great tool to improve performance in general in the company and to make sure that you actually meet those goals that you define. And yeah, so I have a business degree, and before I was being an operations manager, I had basically no experience with process management. And I was faced with a situation where I had to really quickly learn about process management and then find a tool that I can work with, because trying to improve processes and standardize them and drive the implementation of new processes is only possible if you're able to actually visualize those processes. And that's where modeling comes into play. And yeah, back then, I kind of was looking for a tool, and I had 4 criteria that were important for me as a business user. So the first one was it has to be easy to use. So it has to be kind of intuitive. I don't want to have to download something complicated. It's hard for me to really get into a really complicated tool in a short amount of time. It has to be kind of quick, intuitive, and I want to get started modeling right away. And at the same time, I want the tool to be professional. So this is the latest point. Like intuitive, maybe you can do that still with PowerPoint, but when it comes to professional and you want to use those processes maybe to report to investors or other stakeholders as well, it needs to look a little bit professional, right? And PowerPoint just really doesn't cut it at this point. Yeah, and on top of that, as I already mentioned, we're sharing the processes, for example, with investors or other stakeholders. So the tool also has to be collaborative, and the processes have to be easy to share or shareable. And at the same time, sometimes maybe I was in a situation where I was trying to improve a process, for example, in a customer relationship department, because we found out that one of the metrics that I was reporting can be can be improved by changing something in customer relationship. And then it has to be possible to collaborate on this tool. And that was also, again, another thing that was hard to find. And then if that's not already difficult enough, the tool also had to be really cheap and affordable, because I wanted to get started modeling right away and not tomorrow and not in 2 weeks or whatever long it takes to approve a really expensive enterprise tool. And I didn't really get lucky, so I was kind of stuck with PowerPoint and really frustrated about that. But you're lucky today, because with Cawemo, we've succeeded in creating such a tool. And before I talk too much about my experience and my story, I would say we just jump into the tool and you can get convinced yourself. And Jacob will do the live demo now.
Yeah, thanks, Roxy. So that's a very good introduction. So Cawemo is obviously all about empowering everyone in the organization to leverage process improvement. And what does that mean? As Roxy said, we should actually look into the tool itself. So let me quickly leave this presentation and open my browser window. And I think you can see that now. So what I've done is I've already logged into Cawemo. When you point your browser to cawemo.com, you will see a landing page where you can already try out the modeler and get informed about the features, etc. But once you've signed up, this is what you will see. So there's a dashboard. The dashboard is telling me the diagrams, or showing me the diagrams that I have opened recently. And that's also Teams. So as Roxy mentioned, it's all about collaboration. So obviously we're working in teams and looking at the same diagrams together. One of the things that we have implemented here is a very powerful search. So in the old days, you had folder structures and trees, and you kind of browsed through those folders in order to find your files on your Windows 95 OS or whatever. So that's how it used to be. Nowadays, we have search, so we can find processes that we have created in the past very quickly, no matter where they are stored. And this is also how we encourage you to organize your process models. So let's look at one specific team, which is called back office here. So in back office, it's myself, obviously, but also Roxana Morris. So she's part of my team, which means that she can also and look at the diagrams and edit the diagrams that I'm creating here. And let me just create a new diagram. So I just hit this plus button here, and I'm in the modeling canvas now, and I can just get going. So let's just assume that we have some simple, like the good old absence request workflow, for example. So I can say, okay, someone has requested an absence, so like based on annual leave or whatever, and just typing as I'm speaking. And this is a start event in BPMN, so this is typically triggering the workflow. I can, of course, specialize that. I can say, for example, it's not just a simple, like plain start event. It's of a certain type. For example, it could be a message which indicates, for example, an incoming email, things like that. So now I can just model right away. I can just simply drag and drop my items here, put together my workflow. Maybe I'm saying something like, whenever someone wants to leave, that's a great idea. So let's approve that absence request. And once we have done that, we have kind of handled this situation successfully. Okay, so this is the very first simple workflow right away. As you can see, it's fairly easy to create it. There's the symbol palette on the left-hand side. Of course, we can do everything that the BPMN standard allows us to do. However, you don't have to be, aware of all the symbols that are available. So if you want to, you can, of course, turn such a task into a whatever user task. But I mean, quite often, especially when you're just a business user. You might not really, maybe not familiar with BPMN and you don't care too much about it, and that's totally fine, of course. What I can also do, of course, is also renaming this diagram, so I can see, okay, this might be about the absence request, and yeah, you probably noticed that there's no, good old save button. So there's no symbol that I have to click in order to save or store the diagram. Again, that's how it used to be. Nowadays, we all know apps like Google Docs and Google Slides, etc. And there's no save button either for good reason. So whenever I do something in this model, it is saved right away, and I don't have to care about that. That's also how quick it is, obviously. Okay, so let's just assume that I have created this very simple workflow now, and now the second step is, of course, getting feedback. So it's not just about me coming up with ideas, it's about me coming up with ideas, sharing those ideas with others, and asking for their opinion in order to get an even better process as a result. So how can I do that? In Cawemo, there's a button which is called Share. And there's some different options for sharing this diagram. So for example, we have this public link here. So what does that mean? When I create this link, I can send that link to anyone, even if they don't have a user in Cawemo. They can click on that link and they can look at the diagram. They can zoom in, zoom out, etc. Even if it's a complex diagram, it will be presented in a very nice fashion. So that's better than a simple, plain PNG file or whatever. But also, if they do have a user in Cawemo and they are logged in, doesn't even matter if they're part of my team, they can comment on the process. And that's what I would like to do now. So I've created this link now. I could share it, like via email using the tool right away, but I can also copy and paste this link. And what I'm going to do now is I will share this link with you guys because I believe some of you have signed up already. So there's a chat, and I can post this link in the chat window, so all of you can see it now. And if you like, you can simply click on that link and sign up for Cawemo, and put some comments into this diagram. So I think Roxy's doing this as well right now. So she's basically simulating the situation, which is, I've created this fairly simple absence workflow now. I'm asking Roxy as operations manager for her opinion. So maybe, she has some feedback for me. Let's just assume I've shared that link with her. Maybe, I don't know, 1 or 2 days have passed. She's back from holiday or whatever, and looking at this now and now providing me her feedback so that I'm able to incorporate that into my idea. So I will look at the diagram now, simply refreshing it, and there is in fact a comment that has popped up. So Roxy has obviously provided some feedback here, which is a question. In fact, she's saying for that task, absence approved. What if I want to disapprove the absence? So what if I, basically want to reject it, and I don't want that person to leave? So well, it's a fairly good point. Let's change this model together. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm having a discussion with Roxy. So we could, of course, like in a forum, discuss the whole matter now here. Once we have finished discussing it, I could mark this whole thread as resolved, so it would not be deleted, but simply marked as something that has been sorted out. I could also delete it, of course, but let's just leave it here for now. And let's look at the second aspect of collaboration, which is, collaborative editing of this model. So what I can do now as well is I can click the share button again, and I can say, okay, I want to share this model now with team members. And if Roxy is not yet a member of my team, she can immediately become one. I think that's not even necessary in this case anymore. So I will simply type in her email address. I will send her that invite, and now she will receive an email which allows her to open that diagram in her browser and edit it while I'm editing it at the same time. So that's not that easy to show in a webinar. So we've prepared that, which means that I have this browser window here on the left-hand side. And I have a second browser window on the right-hand side. And as you can see, I'm logged in as Roxana Morris on the right-hand side. In the left browser window, I'm logged in as Jacob, as myself. So let's just assume that Roxy is now in this model. And I think Roxy, maybe you just tell us what you want to change, and while you're doing this here in this right browser window on the right hand side, we can see it in my browser window on the left hand side at the same time. Sure.
Yes, thank you, Jacob. I'm excited to improve this process model with you. So first of all, I think it makes sense to add another task. And as you can see, we can really simply create some space here and then maybe add a gateway in that space. And what you can also see is that you don't have to delete the sequence flow. It just simply becomes 2 arrows as you put the gateway in. So that's really handy and easy and fast. So it really shows that it's super easy and fast to use this tool. And then, yeah, if the absence is okay, so let's say our employee has enough days left, I want to approve it. And if our employee doesn't have enough days left, like let's say they've run out of vacation days, I simply want to disapprove the absence for now. Yeah, exactly, perfect. So let's just type in reject the absence, that's perfect. And then the same thing, we can just add another gateway up there, and again, we don't have to delete the sequence flow, so the arrow just easily automatically becomes 2, and it's super simple and nice to model. And this is already, for example, we can see that this is obviously way better than modeling something in PowerPoint, right? It's just much nicer and much more comfortable. And yeah, now I want to actually put it in a pool and create maybe several lanes for it. So maybe when our absence is approved, because the person has enough days left, it just can be done by the assistant. And for whenever there's not enough days left, maybe it makes sense that the manager handles that. So because it's a more complicated matter. And yeah, here we can see we have 2 lanes that we can easily, also the pool we can easily put on top of the process, and we don't have to delete our process, then put the pool and then model inside of the pool. So you can really see how flexible this is to add symbols or pools or whatever to your diagram later. So our tool is really made for changing it and improving your processes step by step and not having to think everything out in the beginning, and you're not stuck in it. Yeah, it's just really flexible. Yeah, perfect, Jacob. So thank you. I think, yeah, that's perfect. Exactly. Now we can even like communicate within the process and just see if Jacob is okay with that. So what do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, looks great. I would say, here we go. So that's it. And as you can see here now, it's me again here on the left-hand side. And again, we can really edit this process together now, which means that, if I'm for whatever reason, I don't know, not totally happy with, for example, the layout, I might want to, change that a little bit and say, oh, this is too much space, so let's make it a bit like this, for example. So, and so on and so forth. So this is how we can do it together, and that's very important here. So again, we have been inspired by apps like Google Docs, for example, who set a great example for collaborative work, and we are now applying this for process modeling with Cawemo. Another matter that might be interesting is I've mentioned the comments here, and as you can see, we have now some comments on these specific elements, like the approve absence task as well as the reject absence task. So what I forgot to mention yet is that we can also look at all these comments in one nice view. So I can open this here on the right-hand side, and we can see all the comments and the threads that have been created so far. So I can see, for example, we have this thread regarding the task reject absence, and the other one which is about approve absence. And the canvas will always jump to that element, even if it's a very complex process. It's super easy to find the specific elements that have been commented. And of course, I can also add more comments and can say, like on a very general level, I don't know, I'm not sure this is great yet, so maybe I'm just skeptical, and some people who might, have a different opinion about that can then have this discussion with me, totally decoupled from specific elements, of course. So that's about sharing and commenting. Let's assume that we are on the same page now, that we have this very nice idea about the process now, and we want to publish it. So we want to let everyone know that this is how we are supposed to handle absence requests in the future. So how can we do that? We can, of course, simply share that link with everyone in our organization. So simply like putting that somewhere, people can click on that and look at that. But there's an even better way to do that, which kicks in specifically when you have any kind of knowledge management system internally based on HTML, more or less. So what I can do here is I can say, okay, let's share this. And let's say, okay, we want to embed this into an HTML page. So I can just click on this option here, and there will be an HTML snippet that has been generated. I can customize that to a certain extent, so I might want to have it a bit broader, for example. And what I can do now is I can take this HTML snippet and simply copy and paste it into any HTML-based, any website, literally. So this means that I can, for example, use it in Confluence, Atlassian Confluence, which we like to use a lot, in fact. So let's just quickly do that. And I will look at the marketing space. I think I've played with that already, but let's do it again. So as you can see here, there's some HTML part now in this Confluence page, so I can simply remove that with my new code and save it. And as you can see here, now we have the diagram we've just created inside our Atlassian Confluence. Again, it's not just some dump pixel-based picture, so it's an actual vector graphic, which means that I can zoom in, zoom out, which comes in handy, obviously, when the diagram is bigger. I can move it around, and so on and so forth. And even better, it's always up to date, which means that if for whatever reason we continue working on this model, figuring out that I don't know, we want to have an additional task that should be about, for example, notifying the employee, things like that, and to a further extent or whatever, so I'm not caring about it too much for now. I can just add those symbols here, and they will be automatically appear, of course, also on this new version that is automatically available on Atlassian Confluence. So this is, of course, a pretty straightforward yet powerful way to share your improved process model within your organization. And therefore, quite recommendable as an approach, obviously. Right. So I guess we're there yet, which means that we have seen the features that are basically available in Cawemo. I mean, there's of course a bit more to that, but still, this is most important when it comes to allow people to quickly design processes, share those processes with others, discuss them, and eventually make them available as part of virtually any system that is based on HTML. One question that comes up quite often, of course, is, okay, so how much do I have to pay for this? And what you can do is you can have a look at the landing page of Cawemo. So maybe I can just do that here quickly and show it to you. So what you can see here is a pricing tag. And as you can see, Cawemo is meant to be used by a lot of people, which also means that it's actually free for smaller teams at least. So if you have a team with up to 3 members, you won't pay anything for it. You can simply get going right away. Just sign up, invite up to 2 coworkers to your team, and the 3 of you can work on diagrams and process models together. If you have larger teams, so you need more seats, it's very straightforward. It's $12 per month per seat. So you can do the math yourself. For example, if you have 250 users, this ends up with $36,000 per year, which is still way more cost effective than most of the tools that you can compare to Cawemo. So this is how we tackle this matter of making it available on a large scale for organizations. If you have a very specific situation, maybe you want to make this available to thousands of employees or whatever, you can simply give us a call. We're happy to discuss the situation with you. So we have a sales team, of course, that is available for being called, and therefore we're happy to receive your inquiry, of course. Yeah. So Roxy, anything else that I forgot in this regard?
I just have a question. So what happens if you want to have more teams, but there's less than 3 members in a team? Does that in any way influence the pricing, or can you do that?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, basically if you have, let's say you have 3,000 employees in the organization, what you could do is, in fact, you could set up 1,000 teams with 3 seats each, and you would, in fact, not pay anything for that. So you can have many teams, as long as they're small, you don't pay for them. Yeah, that's true. Okay. So let's go back to the presentation, because there's another matter that comes up quite often as well, which is about Cawemo and Camunda BPM. So those of you who know Camunda BPM, the process automation platform, also know that Camunda BPM comes with a modeler already. So here on the left-hand side, we can see it here. There is a process modeler with Camunda BPM that allows you to store your files in a standard conformant way, and then deploy and execute those BPMN files, for example, with a Camunda runtime execution environment. So the question here, or actually two questions. So one question is, okay, so what's the difference then? You know, why should I use Cawemo and not the Camunda modeler, or vice versa? So how are they different? That's one element. And the second question is, okay, let's assume that I want to use Cawemo. I'm also using Camunda BPM. How can I actually combine those two? Is there any way to bring those two products together? So for me, it's easy to answer those two questions right now. So what I can say is, first, if we compare those two products, Camunda Modeler and Cawemo, it's quite obvious that they have specific use cases they target. So the Camunda Modeler is all about process modeling in the context of process automation. So therefore, it's a tool that is meant to be used by specialists to a certain extent. Let them be business analysts, for example, gathering requirements, but also, of course, software developers, since I can, edit all the technical properties in Camunda Modeler. And obviously, software developers is a target user group for this product. And we look at Cawemo in comparison. It's obviously, as we mentioned a number of times already, it's a tool that is meant to be used by anyone who is interested in processes and process improvement. So obviously, there's no limitation. It's not meant to be a tool for specialists, but for any business user. Cawemo is provided in the cloud, so it's a pure and real software as a service product. I can simply sign up using my browser, no need to download or install anything. With Camunda Modeler, it's different. It's a desktop application. I can download it for Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it will allow me to store the models that I've created locally on my hard drive. Versus Cawemo, which is all about cloud, so obviously the models are stored in the cloud as well. Yeah, speaking of model files, so Camunda Modeler covers BPMN as well as CMMN and DMN, so it's also about case management and decision automation, which makes sense if we are talking about execution and creating process applications. When we're looking at process improvement for anyone, we have decided to focus on BPMN for now to keep it as simple as possible. So this is not about, technical feasibility. Technically, Cawemo and Camunda Modeler are based on the very same library for modeling that we have created ourselves under the umbrella of BPMN.io. So that's not the point here. But we have on purpose restricted the available model types in Cawemo in order to not confuse the target group, so any business user. Okay, and at the end of the day, the Camunda Modeler is part of the open source Camunda BPM platform, so obviously it's completely free, whereas Cawemo comes with that freemium model for small teams and with a very cost-effective pricing for larger teams. So that's the comparison in a nutshell. So, okay, we've understood that now. So now we know that for certain use cases, Camunda Modeler is the right choice. For other use cases, Cawemo might be better. And the question now is, okay, how can I bring those two products together? And the answer is standards, obviously. So BPMN is an object management group standard that we helped developing ourselves, that we wrote a book about, so we know it quite well, obviously, and therefore it made absolute sense to leverage this for this tool chain as well. So what I can do in Cawemo is, and maybe I just demonstrate that. So let's just look at this diagram that we have created here. And what I can do now is I can simply click the share button. I can simply export it as an XML file. So it's now on my local hard drive. I can just drag and drop it here on my desktop. I can double click on the file and I can open it now in my local Camunda Modeler. So here we go. We are now able to, for example, make this workflow executable. So we can say, for example, okay, this might be, or maybe this is even better, this might be a user task. So then we have the technical properties here on the right-hand side. We can, populate those fields now and save it as an XML file. We can deploy that file on Camunda BPM and just run it. But we can also bring this change now back to Cawemo. So maybe I don't know, also add some label here and change the model in different ways. And what I can simply do now is I can simply take this and just drag and drop it back to Cawemo. Let me just quickly close this first. So now I can do it here. And here we go. And the tool chain is complete. So obviously we have the user task here. We have the additional element here. And yeah, so those tools play nicely together, obviously. All right. So that should be it regarding the tool chain. And I think basically we have already completed this demo for now. So happy to answer questions if there are any. Besides that, of course, the next step for you is to simply sign up and get going. Follow us on Twitter, join Cawemo, and very happy to also look at your feature requests and develop Cawemo even further. I think that's one question that also came up during the webinar that I've noticed while you were speaking, Roxy. So one question that came up was about the roadmap. So what can we expect from Cawemo as a project? What's like, the next big things that we can look forward to? Do you have any answer to that, Roxy?
Yeah, of course. Thanks. So yeah, basically what we're doing right now is we really, as Jacob already said, we want to empower everyone, basically every business user in a company to really benefit from BPMN and process modeling and this tool. So one of our major focuses right now is how increase the UX even more. So have an even easier usability still, and also improve in collaboration. So this is something we're focusing on. From the modeling perspective, Jacob already said technically a lot of things are possible because we're using BPMN.io, the library that we're also using for our Camunda modeler. And so a lot of things on the technical side are possible. But what we really want to do is focus now on collaboration and make that even smoother. So we're going to improve the commenting that you guys already saw earlier, and we're also improving generally how team members work together and things like that. But another important thing that we want to do is in collaboration. Obviously, it might make sense to be able to use this tool with other applications, like other collaborative applications, like for example Slack or Trello, that are really taking businesses right now, the new generation of emails basically, and those kind of modern productivity tools is what we might even include later. So this is something that we're thinking about a lot right now. So really, to make this short, we're focusing a lot on collaboration, and we're trying to come up with more things of improving, or more ways of improving collaboration within team members. So do you have anything to add, Jacob?
No, absolutely right. So, I mean, we're kind of inventing a new and in a way disruptive generation of process improvement tools here. So, things like that we don't have a save button are really just the tip of the iceberg. Simultaneously editing diagrams together is another example, and there will be much more to come. So, Roxy mentioned Slack, for example. It's pretty easy to imagine a Slack integration which will publish new comments in the diagram directly to a Slack channel, things like that. And maybe you even have ideas yourselves. So we would be very interested in hearing what you think of new and new ways of collaborative process improvement. There's some more questions here, and I would like to look at some of them and either answer them myself or ask Roxy to answer them. So someone asking, so what is the definition of a team? You said many teams within the same organization can use for free, but then what are the restrictions? I assume the flows are only shared within a team. Yes, of course, this is what I can answer right away. So assume you have a team has their own team space. So if you have a BPMN diagram, they're all in that space. If I am part of another team and I have not been invited for commenting, for example, I wouldn't be able to access the team's process diagrams. So in order to especially edit them, I need to be part of that team. So that's fairly easy. Many questions actually are about, export import from Cawemo to Camunda and vice versa. I think I've displayed that pretty well. So I guess those questions are answered already. But still, let me just exactly, can this workflow be linked? Yeah. So another element that came up, another question is if those examples are SOAP or REST receive tasks. Yeah, that's quite funny, of course. I mean, those questions are obviously from people who are more in the technical side of things. So therefore, you might wonder about, technical properties, if I can, directly automate or run the workflows that I create in Cawemo, etc. So just to be clear here, Cawemo is not meant to be a product for process automation. That's what Camunda BPM is for. So Cawemo is completely focused on discussing processes with business people who don't care about SOAP or REST. So therefore, you would never define the technical properties of a SOAP or REST call in Cawemo. You would do that in the modeler of Camunda BPM. The good news, of course, is that those two tools play together fairly nicely. And when I, for example, open a file from the Camunda modeler in Cawemo, it will not lose the technical properties. So I might not be able to edit them in Cawemo because that's not the point there. But, if I change the model and I save it again or export it again and open it in Camunda modeler again, all those technical properties will still be there, so you don't need to worry about that. I think, Roxy, you have spotted another question?
Yeah, I just saw a question came in. So someone is wondering whether Cawemo is only for business, or is stating that if Cawemo is only for business users, does it still support adding coded tasks using Java or any script languages? So first of all, Cawemo is not only for business users. It's more for business users and also a platform to bring business and IT users together, because here you can really collaborate and you can include business users in creating processes. From the technical side, Jacob, so is it still possible to add coded tasks using Java or any script languages in Cawemo?
Yeah, that's a good one, of course. I mean, as I said, and Rox elaborated on that as well, that would make sense. So why would I put script language in a model in Cawemo? Only if I, had that idea of deploying that process in a runtime execution environment from Cawemo right away. And that would not be the focus of this tool. So I can do that in the Camunda modeler. I can download the model from Cawemo. I can open it in Camunda modeler, add those script elements, for example, and simply use them for executing the process. So that makes sense, obviously. But with Cawemo, we entirely focus on the business side of process discussion and process improvement, and not on the execution side. All right. So maybe there's more questions in this direction, or maybe also others. Someone's asking about DMN. So what about DMN? I mentioned that, but just answering that again, of course. So DMN, we do like DMN. We use it a lot, and again, in process applications, when it's about automating business processes, DMN makes a lot of sense. So therefore, technically, it's not a problem for Cawemo to offer that. However, for now, we focused on BPMN because we believe that by focusing on the process flow for now, we can reach our target group, the business users, better than offering too many different modeling types right up front. So when we get the feedback that DMN is requested by this target group because decision tables, for example, and I can very well imagine that, make sense for them, then of course we will also incorporate that in Cawemo. We will not just do it like quickly, like some way that is not really careful about our mission. So we will eventually offer that in a way that offers the best possible user experience. And then, yeah, it's thinkable. It mostly depends on you. So if you let us know, we want to use DMN also as business users for business process discussions, yeah, that's a strong indicator, of course. Someone's asking if it's possible to modify the palette. So, for example, displaying a limited number of modeling elements or even extending the modeling elements. Technically, again, yes, it's not yet there in Cawemo. So right now, the palette exists in a way that it offers the BPMN symbol set. It's pretty, simple right now. So that's just the core elements like plain start event, plain task, plain end event. And if I want to use specific types of elements, I can, simply change the type then once I've put that core element on the canvas. So limiting the palette, we're not actually convinced that this helps a lot. We have seen that in other tools, and we have consulted a lot when it came to introducing BPMN, and we haven't seen limiting the palette being really helpful in order to make people, understand BPMN. Allowing to extend the palette, yes, this can make sense. So there can be custom symbols. Technically, certainly possible. Not there right now, but again, if you let us know that this is an important feature to get, then we can certainly consider that. All right. I think we've answered quite a number of questions already. Okay, now there's more coming up. So if you don't have any, Roxy, right now, then I can just take the next one. Okay. So someone's asking, I just read it aloud now, any plans on bringing it to on-premise, since often customers are very sensitive in regards to the data and model processes? Yeah, of course, that's a great question. So to be frank, no. So again, not saying that this will never ever be possible, but we want to focus on the cloud and the software as a service way of delivering this kind of solution. We see us in a category like, for example, Slack, as Roxy mentioned, but also Trello and other enterprise productivity tools that are provided in the cloud. And this is where we want to put all our energy and focus on, rather than offering many different ways of getting this kind of software product. So never say never, but again, it's certainly not on our roadmap right now. This is a cloud product. This is great question from one of our partners, actually our favorite partner in Brazil. Hi, Mauricio. So suggestion to great feature is to navigate from diagram to another diagram by clicking on a call activity. So obviously this is about, process models that are decomposed in sub-processes. And then I have a call activity in a BPMN process, with that tiny little plus symbol. And if I click on that plus symbol, I jump directly to the sub-process. That makes a lot of sense. And I can say that it's on our roadmap short term. So I don't know if it's going to be there like next month or sooner or later, but it's certainly one of the elements that are pretty high up in our roadmap, and therefore you can expect that. Okay, man, there's more and more. Okay, what if a business user drafts a process? My technical development team will finish all the technical details and deploy the process on a Camunda server. How can I link the model in Cawemo with a process available in Camunda Cockpit? That's a good one. So we'll like that question, and it shows that the person asking this is very familiar with our technology stack, and yeah, that's a great question, certainly. So right now there's not an out-of-the-box solution for this. It's a great idea. We talked about that as well ourselves. So it's good to get this confirmation that you're interested in that. This is kind of, integrating Cawemo and the Camunda BPM stack. So there's other matters like that, there could be even nicer ways of making the Cawemo created model available in Camunda Modeler, even nicer ways than the one that I've shown already. But also linking a model in Cawemo to, the process actually running on Cockpit in order to see what's going on in production right away. That's certainly a very good point. And right now there's no feature for that. So thanks for letting us know, because we can consider that and potentially put it on our roadmap fairly soon. Okay. All right. I think we should look at calling this a day, so to say. So thanks a lot for your interest and all those questions. Someone asked about the recording. So maybe Daya, famous last words, you can just let the guys know if there's any and how they can get it.
Great, thanks, Jacob. Yeah, so just to reiterate, in case you want to see the webinar again, we'll send you a link to the recording tomorrow, and you can definitely share that link with anyone in your community or anyone that you work with in case you're interested in finding out more about Cawemo. But we would definitely also encourage you to sign up for Cawemo because it's free and you can start playing around with it and see how you like it. So from my end, I wish you guys all a wonderful day. Thank you for spending the last 45 minutes with us. And we hope to see you using Cawemo soon. Thanks.